Looking back at a telemetry analysis from the performance in the qualifying session for the 2024 Formula One British Grand Prix, we can immediately notice some of the main problems that the Ferrari SF-24 single-seater faced last weekend at the 5.891-kilometer Silverstone Circuit, which eventually ended with another disappointing outcome for the Maranello team. In the first sector of the Silverstone track, the constant performance in the battle for pole position between Mercedes and McLaren is evident. The Brackley cars achieve better end-of-straight speed compared to the Woking cars, which excel in traction. It should be noted that the laps analyzed for Lando, Norris, and Carlos Sainz refer to the first attempt in Q3. Saturday's third-place finisher aborted his last lap due to understeer on acceleration after turn 13. This took him onto the grass, forcing him to lift off. Carlos Sainz, on the other hand, missed the apex at turn 4 and experienced significant oversteer in the same bend. This mistake was also due to imperfect preparation for his push lap, resulting from poor timing when leaving the garage. This forced him into a battle for position with Fernando Alonso and Oscar Piastri. Returning to the telemetry, we see that George Russell is consistently faster on the first straight, but doesn't make a significant difference over his rivals. Lando Norris, on the other hand, manages to better flow his car through direction changes. The first differences in style and approach are noticeable at turn 3. Carlos Sainz carries much more speed into the corner, maximizing his car's performance under braking. Mid-corner, the Spaniard has the highest minimum speed, but when getting back on the gas, he loses the rear, giving away the 0.3 he had gained under braking. This prevents him from positioning his car well in the transition between turns 3 and 4, subsequently paying the price in traction on the straight leading to turn 6. Lando Norris and George Russell have a different approach to turn 3, with Lando staying much closer to the curb, touching it. George, on the other hand, stays wider, increasing the radius and finding better acceleration. However, after reaching 100% throttle, the pole sitter experiences a rear snap going over the outer curbs, causing him to lose a few kilometers per hour compared to Lando Norris. Carlos Sainz manages to recover some of the lost traction through the excellent acceleration provided by the Ferrari power unit and the use of drag reduction system. Along with Russell, the Spaniard reaches the highest top speed before braking for turn 6, 315 kilometers per hour. In the middle sector, Russell and Norris make a difference compared to Carlos Sainz's Ferrari in the passage through turns 6 and 7. The Spaniard is more conservative under braking but fails to carry much speed through the corner due to a lack of grip in medium-slow corners. Only on the exit from turn 7 does Carlos limit the damage, staying farther from the curb and carrying a few more kilometers per hour of speed. The two English drivers, on the other hand, stay closer to the apex, indicating how today's leading cars can find more steering angle, maximizing grip without unsettling the car. Between the braking at turn 6 and the traction after turn 7, Carlos Sainz loses a total of 0.3 compared to Russell, about half of the gap at the end of the lap. At Copse, there are no corrections from the three drivers, but the Ferrari driver has to lift off more, about 20%, losing speed, especially on entry. At Beckett's, the three drivers approach with a speed of 308 kilometers per hour. Even in the faster section of the track, there are no major corrections, except for Russell's entry onto the hangar straight. Comparing telemetry and onboard footage, the Mercedes driver pays for higher speed after turn 12, with slight understeer on acceleration after turn 13. This forces him to use a greater steering angle and to be more conservative with the throttle. Saturday's pole sitter thus loses something in acceleration, with Norris gaining back 0.5 of a second. In these corners, Carlos Sainz again suffers from the lack of grip plaguing the Ferrari SF-24. As in turn 7, the Spanish driver does not show significant corrections in driving, but is forced to carry less speed into the corner to avoid losing the car. In the final sector of the circuit, particularly on his last attempt, George Russell maximizes the performance of his W15, widening the gap with Lando Norris. On the hangar straight, the pole sitter maintains a higher average speed, also thanks to excellent DRS. George hits a top speed of 325 kilometers per hour, delaying the braking input. This allows him to carry more speed into the corner, exploiting his tires in better condition, with less partial throttle compared to his rivals. After turn 15, the three drivers reach 100% throttle almost simultaneously, maintaining very similar speeds in the section before the final braking point of the track. As in the previous corner, Russell delays the brake input at turn 16, maximizing the performance of his car on entry. However, the Englishman is slower in the transition through turn 17 and in the final acceleration phase. Saturday's qualifying was extremely negative for the historic Ferrari team. The Maranello cars show a lack of grip in medium-slow corners, saving the performance only thanks to the excellent power unit. To regain their direction, new simulator tests will be conducted ahead of the Budapest weekend. Meanwhile, the Maranello team hoped that Sunday's race would go better in some adverse weather conditions that might have favored their comeback. Unfortunately, a clear lack of pace from the SF-24 cars and a wrong strategy call for Charles Leclerc in terms of mounting the intermediate tires compromised Ferrari's British Grand Prix, as the Italian side lost points against all its three main opponents. Max Verstappen best captured Ferrari's plight after the British Grand Prix, when he remarked that he knew he was really in trouble when Carlos Sainz began putting him under pressure. Ferrari have lost their way in the races since the Monaco Grand Prix. Their average lap time deficit to their rivals has risen to 0.86% compared to 0.3% over the preceding rounds. Carlos Sainz coped well with the tricky conditions in Silverstone yesterday, finishing fifth, albeit 47 seconds behind race winner Lewis Hamilton. He said the SF-24's performance at the moment was clearly not good enough, after the team chose to remove a recent upgrade package. The Spaniard pointed out that they were essentially using the same car as in Imola, while other teams had made upgrades, likely adding a few tenths to their cars. In contrast, Ferrari had to revert, losing 2 or 3 months of potential performance gains in the wind tunnel. He acknowledged that the team had not made the right decisions recently. Carlos Sainz believes the Maranello team has taken the correct first step by removing the troublesome upgrade which caused high-speed bouncing around Silverstone's fast corners. The Spaniard acknowledged that the new package could be reintroduced at the Hungaroring in the next round of the 2024 F1 season, which has only a couple of high-speed corners where bouncing might occur. He mentioned that they would still experience bouncing in turns 4 and 11, but recognized that nothing better would be available until then. The team might have to tolerate the bouncing for better slow-speed performance, while at high-speed tracks, they might need to use the floor of the old package if the new one proves undrivable. He considered fifth place the best possible outcome for Ferrari in the British Grand Prix, expressing particular satisfaction with their pit stop calls. Despite not being fast enough in fully dry or fully wet conditions, they managed to execute the pit stops correctly, unlike the strategy adopted for his Maranello teammate. During the middle of the race, when the track was wet but required slick tires, Carlos Sainz caught up to the podium positions by 6 or 7 seconds. However, once the conditions became fully wet or dry again, they were not quick enough to maintain that position.